going on, guys? It's your host, Neil Villapiano, and welcome to another edition of Mofobo Network Sports Presents here on YouTube, the best place to get the most up-to-date news and topics going on in the wide world of sports. Thank you guys, as always, for taking some time to check this video out. I do greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Also, comment your thoughts, as well as subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that we post here on YouTube every single week. Today, we're going to be talking about the biggest news going on in Major League Baseball. We had a blockbuster trade, as you can see from my background and also from the thumbnail from this video. You kind of guess at this point what I'm going to be talking about. So let's not waste any more time. And without further ado, as I always say, let's kick some Mofobo. So going back to this past Thursday, January 7th, around, I want to say it was around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the New York Mets made a blockbuster trade with the Cleveland Indians. The Indians traded All-Star Shortstop Francisco Lindor and also starting pitcher Carlos Carrasco to the Mets in exchange for infielders Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, right-hander Josh Wolf, and outfielder Isaiah Green. Now, this is absolutely huge. I think if you go back to a year ago, if someone told me that Francisco Lindor, who, we've heard before was mentioned that he was going to get traded, to the New York Mets, I would have said, no way. But Steve Cohen, Sandy Alderson pulled the trigger on this trade. This trade for the Indians allows them to not worry about getting nothing for Lindor, who is scheduled to be a free agent at the end of the 2021 season. So for about a year now, there have been a lot of rumors about whether Francisco Lindor is going to be traded or not. And at this point, it was not a matter of if he was going to be traded, but when was he going to be traded? And the Mets ended up having the best deal, or at least the deal the Indians felt, most happy with, and they decided to do it. Making this move for the Indians also dropped roughly $30 million in dealing the two prominent players and also who are fan favorites. I think when you look at the Indians, especially the team that went to the World Series back in 2016, these two guys, Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco, were both fan favorites of this team and some of the main guys that they had. And I know for a lot of diehard Indians fans, this was a very tough thing to deal with. But if you're the Mets and if you're a Mets fan, you got to be absolutely ecstatic right now, considering that all the moves that new owner Steve Cohen has already made. He just, almost, I don't know if you want to say put the cherry on top, but he certainly made a huge move that is big news in the biggest, media market in the world, and that is New York City. This is another huge statement, like I said, for Steve Cohen. And, we have to remember, he only bought the team back on November 6th of 2020 after he was able to get the full access of the team from the coupons, the Wilpons, and this move really kind of put the Mets on the map, in my opinion. It really sent a message to the rest of Major League Baseball that, hey, we want to spend money. We want to try to win now. This is what we're going to be doing. Francisco Lindor is one of baseball's best all-around players, capable of winning games with his bat, glove, and also his legs. He is a career 285 hitter and has averaged 29 home runs, 86 RBIs, and 21 steals in his 6 major league seasons. And he also has 2 gold gloves. So this guy is an all-around tremendous baseball player, a superstar without a doubt, who's just entering the prime of his career. One of Cohen's next big ticket moves figures to be signing Lindor to a long-term contract. Now, Francisco Lindor was introduced, via a press conference via Zoom, actually, yesterday on the 10th of January. And he talked about that he would be very interested and very excited to sign an extension with the New York Mets. So I think probably within the next couple of months, maybe even before the start of spring training, the Mets will get an extension done, probably somewhat similar to the one that Mookie Betts signed with the Dodgers after he was traded from the Red Sox prior to the 2020 Major League Baseball season. And here's the thing that really stands out to me the most about Francisco Lindor. He is one of the most entertaining and most, wonderful human beings in the game of baseball. He has a tremendous personality, and Here's a little story for you guys that I'm sure some of you have seen on social media, but I'm going to share with you here. When the trade was confirmed, a little super fan of Francisco Lindor had the best reaction of anybody. This kid, I think he was only like 6 or 7 years old. He's a very, very little kid. And what his dad did, the kid's dad, he did something that's really cool. He led his son to his bedroom where his father has set up a tableau. Next to Lindor's Puerto Rican World Baseball Classic jersey is a large sign proclaiming Lindor is a Met. And this kid lost his mind. He screamed so loud. He was jumping up and down. I don't know if he had tears of joy, but I'm certain that was the case. But he was absolutely going insane. I don't know if he's also a Mets fan, but if he is, he's certainly going to be doubly excited to get his favorite player on the Mets. Then this past Monday, right after the press conference, Lindor actually got on a little Zoom chat with that super fan. And, the kid he was mind blown. He couldn't believe he was talking to his favorite player. He showed him a couple of things that he has of Lindor, including, I think, like his rookie card. And Lindor said that, he appreciates the fans so much that he's going to send him a bunch of Mets stuff with Lindor on it. And I think that's just tremendous. And if you ask any Cleveland baseball fan who has had the chance to meet Lindor in person and maybe take a photo or something, they will tell you that he is a genuine human being. Like, he is just absolutely tremendous. He loves every single, fan. He always makes time for them. He has a great smile, like you can see right here, just a tremendous smile. And I think that's what really resonates with a lot of people, that they love that a guy this popular and this well-known, be that way. And without a doubt, Francisco Lindor is one of the best Puerto Rican baseball players in the game today. One of the guys that Puerto Rico really keeps their eye on and is very proud of. And, he really represents that country so well. And he represents the game of baseball really well. And baseball has slowly done a better job of promoting its stars. And Francisco Lindor is one of them. And now that he gets a chance to play in New York, that's going to make it that much easier for him to promote himself, promote the Mets, and promote the game of baseball, which is absolutely tremendous. Now let's talk about the other guy really quick that the Mets were able to acquire, which I got to say is also a really, really big move by the Mets. And that is starting pitcher Carlos Carrasco. He's one of the game's best comeback stories after he overcame leukemia to become one of the American League's steadiest starters. The 33-year-old has an 88-73 record with a 3.73 ERA. I mean, this is a tremendous story that this guy bounced back from leukemia to still be a really, really good starter. And he has about 2 years left on his contract, so the Mets have some control. And I'm sure they're going to want him to be one of their top 3 starting pitchers going into next year, especially if the Mets expect to be a competitive team that can make the playoffs and maybe even make a run at the World Series. Let's shift back to Lindor for a little bit. Like I mentioned before, Lindor was rumored for over a year now to be traded, and it was just a matter of time. And there were a couple teams that were rumored even at the deadline that were trying to make a move, including the New York Yankees. And what ended up happening was that Lindor stayed with the Indians the rest of the year. They got knocked out in the wild card round by the New York Yankees. And then just a couple days ago, Lindor was officially traded away from Cleveland, the only team he's ever played with, to the bright lights of New York City, playing in Queens, New York. You look at what Steve Cohen has done so far in the very little time that he has been the main owner of the New York Mets. New York has kept pitcher Marcus Stroman for an $18.9 million qualifying offer. They signed right-hander Trevor May to a 2-year, $15.5 million contract and signed one of the most underrated catchers over the last couple of years in James McCann to a 4-year, $40.6 million deal. The Mets have also signed injured right-hander Noah Syndergaard to a 1-year, $9.7 million deal. So clearly they have some faith in a guy like Noah Syndergaard, and they're able to add some more talent to the pitching staff by getting Carlos Carrasco. And this is tremendous. But ladies and gentlemen, the Mets are not done because they are still rumored to sign outfielder George Springer, even though talks have stalled recently because I think Springer wants something like $150 million. And maybe the Mets are still going to end up doing that. I don't know, but we will see. And they're also rumored to try to acquire, Trevor Bauer via free agency as well. Now, I think after getting Lindor and probably signing him to an extension down the road, I think it's going to be either Springer or Bauer. I don't think it's going to be, both of them, even though that would be incredible. But I think it's going to be one or the other. And I think probably they're leaning towards George Springer a little bit more since now they just got Carrasco. But hey, if they get Bauer, that's going to make their pitching staff even better than it actually is. Because if you think about it, you could have a starting four, at least a rotation of Jacob deGrom. You probably then put Trevor Bauer at number 2, then number 3, Carlos Carrasco, and then Noah Syndergaard. And I mean, that's tremendous. And then you could just find a solid, young, maybe in your system, a young pitcher to fill out that fifth spot. Or you could go a 4-man rotation if you feel like it. There's a lot of different possibilities. But I mean, if you think about from the offensive standpoint, which is something the Mets have struggled with for many years, if they're able to get George Springer, as well as also having Lindor in that lineup, the Mets have one of the most feared lineups, not just in the National League, but in all of baseball. I mean, this is incredible. And let's look at the lineup, what the Mets lineup would look like with a DH, because it's still rumored that possibly the DH could be a factor again in the National League, what the lineup would look like with Francisco Lindor in it. So we have Brandon Nimmo, who would play in center field. Third base and batting second would be Jeff McNeil. Then batting third would be Francisco Lindor at shortstop. The designated hitter and batting fourth would be the polar bear, Pete Alonso. Then batting fifth in right field, Michael Conforto. Batting sixth, playing first base, Dominic Smith. Batting seventh and playing left field, J.D. Davis. Batting eighth, the catcher, James McCann. And batting ninth, second baseman, Luis Guillorme. And if you look at, someone like Guillorme, which now, because, you obviously gave up Ahmed Rosario and, usually Jeff McNeil was playing at second base, Guillorme now will get a better chance to play. And he's still considered one of the top prospects for the Mets, and they have high expectations for him. And with the fact that Robinson Cano is suspended for a whole year due to PEDs, now there's an opening there. But I don't personally think, to kind of recap this whole thing, I don't think the Mets are done. But this is certainly a massive statement to get one of the top 5 and certainly one of the top 10 best players in baseball in Francisco Lindor, and still a very solid starting pitcher in Carlos Carrasco. Just shows that the Mets are ready to compete now as well as competing in the future. And that's what Sandy Alderson, the new president of the New York Mets, who actually came back after taking a year off from working with the Mets, that's what he said. He wants this team to compete now and also in the future. And making moves like this is really big. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think the Mets are done. You're still hearing about, DJ LeMahieu is still, he really wants to sign with the Yankees, but now he's entertaining other offers, considering that the Yankees have pretty much not really given him any sort of offer, even at this point. And we're getting closer and closer to the start of spring training. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets saw this as an opportunity to try to get another really talented player and another one of the top, 10, certainly top 15 players in baseball right now in DJ LeMahieu to, anchor that lineup. But, again, a lot of things could change. A lot of things could, happen between now and when spring training actually starts. But this is a massive move by the New York Mets, a franchise that has, constantly led to a lot of regret for a lot of Mets fans. But now with a new owner and making a move like this to get Francisco Lindor, this clearly shows that the Mets are ready for a new era that hopefully is going to lead to a lot of winning and hopefully at least one World Series championship. What's up, guys? It's your host, Neil Villapiano. Thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of Mofobo Network Sports Presents here on YouTube. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment. And if you want to continue to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that we post every single week here on YouTube. We talk about the biggest topics and discussions going on in the wide world of sports. Also, go check out the Mofobo Network Sports Podcast, where just like here on YouTube, we talk about the biggest news and biggest topics going on in this crazy world that is the world of sports. We have new episodes that come out every Monday and Thursday, and it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. All you have to do is just search Mofobo, Mofobo, Network Sports Podcast, or my name, Neil, Neil, Villapiano, Villapiano, and you will find it. You can also stay up to date with not only the YouTube videos, but also the podcast episodes by following me on Twitter at THENVPSHOW, on Instagram at NVPQB11, and also make sure to go subscribe to the Mofobo Network Facebook page. If you want to listen to more of my voice, make sure you go like and subscribe to the Devil's State of Mind podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. It is the best place to get the most up-to-date news about your New Jersey Devils. You can go and listen to this wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search Devil's State of Mind or Hockey Podcast Network and you will find it. Also, to make sure to go and subscribe to some of the other podcasts that we have on the network. We have a podcast for all the teams in the National Hockey League and a lot of other hockey-based podcasts on there. So please go check all of those out as well. You can follow the Devil's State of Mind podcast on Twitter at Devil's State and also on Instagram and Facebook at Devil's State of Mind. Make sure to also follow the Hockey Podcast Network on all social media platforms at HockeyPodNet. And last but certainly not least, go check out both my books that are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The first is titled JETS, Pain, Pain, Pain. It's about the pain and ecstasy, no ecstasy, of being a New York Jets fan. And it basically documents all the painful games, painful memories, painful player decisions, and everything revolves around pain when it comes to being a New York Jets fan. The other book is titled Meet the Mets Mess, the REGRETS of New York Town. And it talks about all the regrets and everything that revolves around being a New York Mets fan. And even when they won world championships in 1969 and 1986, in the middle of those years, as well as many years after, there is still a lot of regret. So if you're a Mets fan or a Jets fan or both, or if you know someone who's one of those, make sure to go check out both of these books. They are definitely for you. They are available for hardcover and ebook for the price of $19.69. And if you're a fan of either one of these teams or a sports fanatic, you probably guessed why I chose that price. So go check those books out. Again, JETS, Pain, 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 and Meet the Mets Mess, the REGRETS of New York Town. So everyone, once again, thank you very much for checking out this edition of Mofobo Network Sports Presents, and we will see you in the next episode. Continue to be the amazing, hardworking people that you are. Continue to always be yourself, no matter what goes on in the world. And just remember one thing, to kick some Mofobo.